This is Saxon Math for 6th grade. Today we're working on lesson number 39. We're going to be learning about proportions. Proportions are very similar to equivalent fractions, only instead of being with fractions, they're with ratios. Remember that ratios are part to part, whereas fractions are part to whole. However, when you look at them, they look the same. They may mean something slightly different, but they look the same. And it turns out that the way that we find a proportion is exactly the same way as we find an equivalent fraction. Both of the strategies that I'll show you today work with ratios. They also work with equivalent fractions. All right, this is what you've seen before. I have a ratio of 16 of something to 20 of something else. If I was to reduce that, it could reduce to 4 of something to 5 of something else. Usually when you do this, I say, 16 divided by 4 is 4, and 20 divided by 4 is 5. I divided both numbers by 4, and it gave me my new fraction. You should be pretty comfortable with that method of finding an equivalent fraction, or in this case, of finding a proportion. What if, look down here, you're missing a number, or it doesn't very readily lend itself to multiplication or division? So here, if I looked at this and tried to do this, I could say, okay, I have 20, which became 30, and whatever I do to this, I can do to that. 20 doesn't multiply times something very easily to make 30. I have a second strategy for you. If this strategy isn't going to work out very clearly, here's a second strategy to help you solve an equivalent fraction or a proportional ratio. Are you ready? Raindrops falling. Drawing circles. You can cross multiply. That times that, and this times this. Here's what this looks like when we rewrite it. 20 times n times n. Bring your equal sign down. It equals the other two cross multiplied, 12 times 30. Now the proof as to why this works out is a little long, so I'm not going to share it with you today. However, for both ratios and for equivalent fractions, you can cross multiply, and the answer should be equal. Now I can solve. 20 times n equals 12 times 30. Let's do this part first. 20 times n equals 12 times 30. 12 times 30 is 360. 20 times what makes 360? Or 360 divided by 20 would give me n. If I was to take my 360 and divide by 20, there are no 20s in 3. There's 1 in 36. Which leaves me with 16. And bring down my next 0. 160 divided by 20 would be 8. 8 times 20 would be 160. That means 18 times 20 makes 360. 20 times n, which is 18, makes 360. So the number that I'm missing here, this n, is the same as 18. If you wanted to check and see that this cross multiplication works, we could check it with our other problem. 20 times 4 should equal 16 times 5. 20 times 4 equals 80. 16 times 5 also equals 80. For most of your problems today, you're going to want to use this method. You're going to want to cross multiply to try to find the missing term, because they're not going to easily have a whole number multiplication or division rule to help you.